So we hear all the time that the future of robotics is this amazing, bright thing, but what if I told you there's a huge hidden cost, a multi-billion-dollar glitch, really, that's holding the whole thing back? That's what we're going to dig into today, this fragmented future of robotics and the insane price we're all paying for it.
I mean, you've seen them, right? Out in the wild? The future isn't some far-off concept. It's here, it's working. We've got robotaxis cruising through our cities, those little delivery bots zipping down the sidewalks, even drones checking out our infrastructure. It's an incredibly exciting time, no doubt about it. The global robotics market, it's projected to hit something like $80 billion this year.
Okay, but here's the catch, the big twist. Underneath all that incredible progress, there's this systemic problem that's causing these companies to just bleed money. And get this, it's not a tech problem. So what in the world is actually going on here?
All right, to really get a handle on this, we've got to do what they always say, follow the money. This is what I'm calling the billion-dollar glitch. It's the absolutely staggering cost of having an industry where basically every company is off building its own little kingdom, its own silo. Okay, check out this number. Just let this sink in. We're talking about the autonomous vehicle market, right? Just that one piece. Well, fragmentation, which is really just a fancy way of saying companies not working together, could be costing us almost $6 billion in expenses we could totally avoid every single year. That's money that's just, poof, gone. And believe it or not, it gets even bigger. When we zoom out and look at the entire US robotics and automation industry, a study from NIST estimates that if we just had shared infrastructure, we could unlock over $40 billion in savings annually. I mean, the scale of this waste, it's just mind-boggling.
And this has a very real, very direct impact. This fragmentation can jack up development costs by as much as 25%. Think about what that means. It significantly delays when we actually get to use all these cool technologies. It's like a massive anchor dragging the whole industry down.
So the big question is, why? Why is this happening? Let's dissect this thing. Let's look at the anatomy of this inefficiency. Where is all this cash and all this potential actually disappearing to?
Well, it really boils down to three main problems. First up, duplicated infrastructure. Every single company is building its own charging stations, its own depots, its own repair shops. Then there's the lack of interoperability. Basically, these systems can't talk to each other. The result? Literal traffic jams with robots and drones on our streets and in the air. And finally, you've got these siloed operations. Each company has its own separate command center, its own data, its own everything.
This one analogy really hits the nail on the head. Just imagine for a second if every single airline had its own air traffic control system. I mean, yeah, planes could still fly, but it would be total chaos, right? Not to mention dangerous and wildly expensive. Well, that's pretty much where the robotics world is today.
Okay, that's enough doom and gloom about the problem. Let's talk about the solution. Because here's the good news. This is totally solvable. There is a path forward, a connected one.
And that solution has a name, unification. It's pretty much what it sounds like. It's all about creating a set of shared rules of the road, right? The common platforms, the standards, the infrastructure that would let all these different autonomous systems finally talk to each other and, cooperate.
I mean, just look at the contrast here. The fragmented world we're living in now, all the infrastructure is siloed. And the crazy part is, as you add more robots, your efficiency actually goes down. You get diminishing returns. But in a unified world, infrastructure is shared, and that leads to scalable, even explosive growth. The two paths really couldn't be more different.
Now look, let's be real for a second. This is not some easy flip-a-switch kind of fix. There are some serious challenges here. I mean, how do you handle data privacy when everyone's sharing data? What about antitrust concerns? And here's a big one. Could you standardize things so much that you actually kill the competition that drives all the innovation in the first place? These are really serious hurdles we'd have to figure out.
And this is a big but. If we can figure out how to get over those hurdles, the payoff is, it's enormous. So let's talk about that. Let's explore the massive upside of actually working together. Get ready for this, because this is just incredible. Simulations from the MIT Mobility Lab show that with just a bit of coordination, we could provide the exact same level of service with 20 to 50% fewer vehicles. Just let that sink in for a second. Doing so much more with so much less. That's a gigantic leap in efficiency.
And this is about more than just saving a buck. It's about creating totally new kinds of value. Think about all those parking garages in our cities that sit half empty most of the time. With shared infrastructure, you could turn them into these bustling, multimodal hubs for robotaxis, for delivery bots, for drones, all of it, generating new money and making our cities way more efficient.
So all of this brings us to a really critical moment. The whole industry is basically standing at a fork in the road, and the path we decide to take, right now, is going to define our entire autonomous future. Let's just lay it out in the plainest terms possible. If we keep going down this fragmented path, we're looking at a global loss of maybe $20 billion per year. But if we choose to unify, to work together, we could unlock up to $375 billion in new growth. The choice, well, it seems kind of obvious, doesn't it?
You know, for our cities, this is the difference between smooth, fluid mobility and just total gridlock. For the robotics industry itself, it's the difference between stagnating and actually scaling up. It all boils down to one simple but incredibly important question. Which future are we going to build?